everybody. Welcome back to the Coaches from the Couch podcast, where we like to talk sports, play games, and do our best to have a good time. If you didn't skip the intro, you would have seen that we have a new logo. Shout out Brady Mac at Mac Designs. You can follow him on Instagram at underscore Mac Designs. He's very talented and he does some great work. Um, yeah, what do you think about the logo, Carson?
Oh, the logo is sick. We needed an upgrade, and did he come through? Brady Mac came through and gave us a nice logo, and it was a good upgrade for sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's sleek. It fits our color scheme. It's everything we wanted. Um, Kind of moving on from that, we had a pretty crazy day in the NBA yesterday, and I think today will be crazy as well. But what do you have to tell us about what happened yesterday?
So obviously, the NBA news around the world right now is the Kristaps Porzingis trade number two. So trade number one did not go through, as most people saw in the NBA world. A lot of people were well, not a lot of people. LA was concerned with Malcolm Brogdon's injured. I think it's UCL, I believe, right? I believe that's what it is.
Well, they
And
wouldn't say, so it might have been something else too, like a heart problem. I don't know.
yeah,
It sounded
exactly.
concerning.
Yeah, and so that made LA back out, and then you obviously had Kristaps going to the Celtics, and originally Brogdon was going to the Clippers, and then who was going to the Grizzlies? Or wasn't the Grizzlies involved, was it?
It was just the Wizards, Clippers, and Celtics at first.
Wizards, yeah, okay. And yeah, Clippers weren't in the second one. And in the second one was Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies, and then Wizards getting a Muscala. Who was the other bench piece from the Celtics?
Danilo Gallinari.
Gallinari, and they also got Tyus Jones. And then the Celtics got Kristaps and two first round picks. So at the end, out of all of it, I think the Celtics won the deal just because getting a guy like Kristaps, I think it helps them with rim protecting, with also spacing the floor for Tatum and Brown, and then also getting two future first round picks. That's huge for the Celtics, I think.
Yeah. My thoughts. First off, I like the trade. I think we got really good value getting picks and Kristaps. But it is kind of tough to see how it's going to turn out. Just we have so much injury risk on the team right now. As a Celtics fan, the past couple of years, Horford's really old. I think that's no surprise to anybody. Everybody knows that. But also Rob Williams, he gets hurt a lot. Um, Brogdon, we couldn't get rid of him, so he's still on the team for right now. That's a lot of injury risk, and I don't know if you can really expect this team to be fully healthy, making playoff runs into the future.
Yeah,
So we have a really high ceiling as a team, but we also that's some floor concerns for me.
yeah,
Um,
and then another thing, I like. Where are they going to get this money to pay Jalen Brown? I mean, that they just took on a bigger contract. Kristaps was making more than Marcus Smart, and then you're looking to pay Jalen Brown a max contract. I don't know. Is there money trees in their backyard or something, and they're just growing it? Because I feel like they are running low on money. And I know they're still probably going to try to trade Brogdon, and I know that's why they're probably getting draft capital to try to pair that up. But like, do they have enough money to do that as of right now?
well, they're already negative in the cap space. I think they're using their MLE to get all their assets. Yeah, the money is really running dry over there, and we're probably going to be pigeonholed into this spot where we kind of have to keep these guys for the near future at least. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot we can do in the future with that much money being passed around. $300 million players pretty much, and what's Kristaps' contract like 36 mil?
36, 37, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I believe he still has 2 years on his deal, and then you got Brogdon, who I think he has a couple of years on his deal. So I mean, the Boston Celtics have a lot of long contracts with a lot of money. So it makes me question, like, how are you going to get those back half players and not be too top heavy, like the Suns situation? Because you don't want to go down that road where you're not have a lot of depth, because that will cost you in the long run.
Yeah, that and it's proven over time. Super teams have not really worked out the past couple of years outside of like LeBron's Heat team, which that was back quite a while ago. All these super teams never seem to work out. They fall apart just because of lack of depth. You can't have three players taking up the entire cap space and make deep playoff runs. You need those middle pieces, those guys that provide value off the bench or just playing a role.
Yeah, and then so we talked about the Celtics. Now I want to talk about the Grizzlies part of the trade. Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies, great fit for the Grizzlies. I think that is a perfect fit. Who knows what happens with John Morant? So, and I know they got rid of Tyus Jones, but Marcus Smart can fill that role until John Morant gets back, and then he can be that two guard, that combo guard. He can play the point guard. He can play the shooting guard. He's an elite defender. He's won Defensive Player of the Year. I think Marcus Smart fits perfect with the Grizzlies. What do you think?
I was just so shocked that we moved Marcus Smart, honestly. Um, as a Celtics fan, I love Marcus Smart. He's been the heart and soul of our team past 5 years or so. Um, I thought he was going to be a guy that was going to be in green for the remainder of his career. I know he kind of had a down season on both ends last year, but coming off a Defensive Player of the Year, and Derek White, I guess they trust him. He had sort of a breakout season for us. Looks like we're leaning on White and Pritchard going into the future. But for Memphis, you got to be happy for them. I had the pleasure of visiting Memphis actually last month, and it's a blue collar city. They're called the Hustle City. Culture's a big thing there, and I think all of those things really fit Marcus Smart and who he is. And as a team that I think we all know lacks maturity, as John Morant suspended, and we know Dylan Brooks. Marcus Smart, you bring him in, that's going to be like your Tony Allen, who they had a couple years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
think a guy that sets the tone. He's going to work his butt off. He's going to put his body on the line for you. He's going to lead by example, and that's a guy that you want um, on your team, on any team. Any team could use a Marcus Smart. So yeah, I love it for the Grizzlies. But I think the Celtics also got their value too.
Yeah, and so actually, what's crazy? Just 4 minutes ago, Marcus Smart came out and said uh, he was completely shocked last night, like because of the trade. And then Marcus came out and said he loves Boston and he thought he was going to retire there. That is actually what he just said, and that was per Adam Himmelsbach. Himmelsbach. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but yeah. So Marcus obviously he didn't know he was going to be gone, and that's the NBA. That's a business. NBA is a business, just like any professional sport. It is a business, and that is the tough part about the sport. You know, you're a business. You're a business, so you can be shipped at any time. And yes, if you're a higher like Kevin Durant, LeBron, if you're a higher player, better player, yes, you might have a little bit more say. But when you're a guy that's not at that level, it's a business at that point.
And I think this is going to require Tatum and Brown to really have to step up into more of a leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
When things have gone wrong in the past, we've always heard that it was Marcus Smart in the locker room getting into guys and setting things straight. Kind of the voice of the locker room that pulls everybody together, calls everybody out when they're wrong. So Tatum and Brown are going to be responsible for that now. And I guess we'll just have to see if they can even do that. That's a big, big shoes to fill.
Yeah, and then the last team I want to talk about, obviously in the trade, is a three-team trade, is the Wizards. And the Wizards, I believe they have 8 point guards on their team right now. No, I don't know exactly, but they do have a lot of point guards right now. With getting Chris Paul and now getting Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones is a very underrated point guard in the league. Definitely, easily a starter somewhere. And I think he can be that starting point guard for the Wizards going forward because I think Chris Paul is going to get bought out or trade. And so I think Tyus Jones is a good pickup for them. And I believe they got some draft picks. They got the Celtics second round pick, I believe.
Number 35, I think.
Is that it? Is that all the picks they got, off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head.
But so I wish I know they didn't get a first round pick. I wish they would have got a first round pick. So I saw a crazy news line. It said trading Kristaps Porzingis, trading Bradley Beal, and then trading Rui Hachimura. They didn't get one first round pick out of all three of those players. As a Wizards fan, you got to be sick right now because, like, I don't even know, like, how do you not get a first round pick for one of those guys? I mean, all three of those players have they. I know Rui hasn't, but I Bradley Beal and Kristaps, they've both been all stars, right? If not, Kristaps has been on the verge of being an all star, and I know Bradley Beal has before. So for that caliber of a player, and you can't get a first round pick, and they're not crazy old. They're still decently, and they're all still going into their prime or in the prime. So it is sickening for Wizards fans, I think, to trade those three players away in a season and not get a first round pick.
Yeah, I didn't love really what they got in return for any of those trades. Yeah, I think they're going to definitely be in the conversation for that number one pick next year. They aren't looking too good, losing, like you said, Beal, Kristaps, Hachimura, and Kuzma's a free agent too, and I'd say he probably doesn't want to come back to that team. Like I said in the last podcast, if I got drafted by the Wizards, if I was on the Wizards, I'd want to do anything to go elsewhere. Nobody wants to play for them. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see what they do with their money because they will have a lot of cap space, I guess. Not paying all those guys, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
And then so now I'm going to jump to another trade or trades that happened down the that's happened I think last week or 2 weeks ago. It started with the Indiana Pacers and the Denver Nuggets, I believe. Isn't that right? I believe that's what it was. And let's see here. I think it was just earlier this week actually. But the Pacers got let's see here. They got the 40th pick, and they also got a future first. And we traded our back, or I think it was the 29th pick this year, and we traded the 30. It was the early second round pick, and we moved back 8 spots. It was the 32nd pick. We moved back 8 spots and got the 40th from them. So that trade, that was a little fascinating. I thought I didn't know really what Pritchard was doing there, but then as you look more into the details of the trade, it makes sense because so I was looking at the Pacers roster. Pacers roster, we have 3 guys leaving. We have 5 draft picks. If you do the math, that doesn't add up right. So you got to do something. And which, as of right now, we have 4 draft picks, 3 people leaving. So hint, hint, Pacer fans. I mean, something's got to happen. Whether that's someone getting cut or traded. And then, so that trade happened. And then we had just today, we had the Pacers trade the 40th pick they got from the Nuggets back to the 47th. And we also got $4.3 million from the Lakers. And as a Pacers fan, that is a huge dub. I mean, anytime you can get money from a big market team, we'll definitely take it any day of the week. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it was interesting the trade that you talked about first.
The Nuggets.
I did like it though. We had 5 picks, like you said, in this draft. That doesn't really make sense. We're already a young team. You don't need 5 picks in any draft. You might as well just move back to the next year. Not put all your eggs in one basket. Kind of look towards the future. Kind of expand that window of potential. So I like that, and I especially like that Lakers deal done today. A small market team, yeah, we need money any way we can. So that's actually huge. I was surprised it was that much money.
For only 7 spots up in the second round.
Yeah, 4.3 million.
That's a hefty good veteran right there that you can bring in.
Absolutely. All right, that brings us to today's game. And Carson, I hope you're ready for this, but we're going to be having you try to guess the last 10 number 1 picks in the NBA draft.
Oh boy.
In the spirit of tonight's NBA draft. So yeah, going from 2013 all the way up to 2022, we're going to see how many of these you can get. You are on the clock.
So starting at 2013. So 2013 seems like an odd year. And so I'm going to say that it was Anthony Bennett. I feel like that was probably the worst.
I'm surprised you got that one. That was the one I thought you wouldn't get. Probably, arguably, the worst number 1 pick of all time. Not sure why he went number 1, but Anthony Bennett out of UNLV.
It came out of nowhere, too. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand where that happened. So 2014. 2014, I'm going to go...
You don't have to guess them in order if you want to. You can just throw them out there.
Okay. I'm going to go Andrew Wiggins.
That is correct. 2014, Andrew Wiggins from Kansas.
Okay. 2015, that is... Karl-Anthony Towns because that was 2015 Kentucky team.
Yep, a 38-1 team.
Okay.
Man, I thought they won it all, but yep,
I'd
that was
do
Cap.
anything to have that team back.
Hmm.
2016. 2016. 2016. Um, let's see here. Hmm. So you said I could just name them though. So I'm gonna say Kate Cunningham,
That was 2021. Kate
2021.
Cunningham.
Okay, and then let's see here. Uh, Paulo Bencaro.
2022.
Okay. Um, Ben Simmons.
That was 2016.
Okay. Um, hmm. So what years do I have left?
You have 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017.
Hmm. So let's see here. Who's all the bad teams? Let's see here. Did James Wiseman, was he one?
He was the second overall pick.
And was that 20?
2020.
Oh, so I'm in the right year. James Wiseman. Hmm. Wiseman. Goodness. This is tough.
What about we give you some hints and we tell you what college these guys went to?
All right. Hit me. All right. Yeah, let's go. I'm good.
Um,
Or do you know off the top of your head who the Pacers drafted that year?
in 2020.
Yeah. Do you know that off the top of your head? Just make it an easy or a harder hint.
I do not.
Was that Dierte?
No, I don't think so. I think he was 2021.
Okay.
It might have been Goga, but I'm not for sure on that. So I don't know.
Okay. Okay. What's the college?
2020 was a guy from Georgia.
Georgia. Anthony Edwards. Yep. I'm gonna count these as losses. I didn't get them.
2019 Duke.
2019 Duke. I was thinking of Duke, but I couldn't. The only guy that came to mind was Ben Caro and Zion.
Zion Williamson. 2018 Arizona.
It's Aiton.
Yep. And 2017 Washington.
Markel Fultz.
Yep.
So I didn't.
That's all of them.
I mean, granted, I feel like I got the harder ones than the easier ones.
Yeah, you just missed all those ones in the middle, but I did not expect you to get like the earlier ones, like 13, 14, and 15. Those weren't exactly fresh in my memory. I'm not sure if I would have got those.
Like I knew 15 like pretty well because of Kentucky, but like 13, 14, it came to my mind for some odd reason. And then because I knew Andrew Wiggins is still fairly young, and then the earlier years, actually the earlier years were pretty hard for me too. Like I don't know why I forgot about Paulo Bencaro and also who was just the one before that. I said him.
The year before.
Yeah.
Paulo, Kate Cunningham.
Yeah, Kate. I said Kate too. Yeah, it was just I don't know. I thought it was gonna be definitely harder. But once I got in my groove, I feel like I did a little bit better.
You guys have given us some feedback and you seem to really like the draft, so we are going to keep those up. And we're going to do another draft today. Very important one to me. We're going to be drafting some beverages, some drinks.
Yeah.
You ready for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I have the number one pick today because Carson had the number one pick in the last draft. And with my number one pick, I'm going to be taking the only number one pick, in my opinion, the one that we need to survive. I'm going to take water, the classic H2O.
That was my number one. So since you already took water, I'm gonna jump to my number two and for my number one, and I'm gonna take orange Gatorade. I'm gonna take orange Gatorade number one.
You know I have a soft spot for orange Gatorade.
Orange Gatorade.
Mm, With my number two, I'm gonna go with a functional one that I don't personally drink, but a lot of people do. Um, Helps you kind of wake up in the morning. I'm gonna go with coffee. I love the smell of it. I don't know, it gives a lot of people energy. Very functional.
Interesting. So you're going off the base of everything. I'm going on base what I like. That's what I'm doing, me personally. And so my number two, I'm gonna go strawberry. Or yeah, my number two, strawberry kiwi Propel. Very underrated, and I could drink that probably every single day. I could drink it 24/7. Actually, I'll go that far.
That's an
Strawberry
interesting
kiwi,
pick.
strawberry kiwi Propel. If you haven't tried it, go get some. It's at your local stores.
With my third pick, I'm going to take Mountain Dew. I feel like I don't drink pop very often, or soda, if you call it that, soft drink, whatever. But when I do, it has to be Mountain Dew. I feel like it's the superstar of all soft drinks. Mountain Dew is off the board.
So that was number three, right?
Yep.
Number three, I'm gonna go with Body Armor Fruit Punch. That is probably my third favorite drink. Body Armor Fruit Punch. It is. It's not as good as Orange Gatorade, but I would take Fruit Punch, Body Armor over Fruit Punch Gatorade any day of the week.
Um, with my fourth pick, I'm going to go with I'll go with iced tea. I feel like iced tea is a good
Ugh.
solid drink.
Ugh. Not an iced tea person at all. So with my number four pick, I'm gonna go with my top soda, and that is Vanilla Coke. Vanilla Coke, best soft drink out there, no questions at all. That is my number four.
Um, and at my number five, I'm going to take beer.
Beer.
I don't drink beer, but a lot of people do. It's American classic, goes good with everything, relaxes you a little bit. Can't go wrong with a nice ice cold beer.
I'm gonna have a little controversial on number five. I'm going with nice little blue cap 2% milk. Give me milk. Milk is my number five. Nice little cold glass of milk at night hits different. Let me tell you,
Keeps the bones strong too.
it does, and the teeth white.
And in the last draft, we also did an overrated too.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have an overrated drink? One do you think gets too much respect or needs to be hated on some more?
You go ahead and go first. You're
Oh,
first.
you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. You had the first pick.
I've only had one cavity in my life, and it came in an era when I was drinking this, and that would be Hawaiian Punch. I'm ashamed that I drank
Wow.
so much of it. It's so acidic. I feel like it should be illegal to give to kids. Like
I
looking
loved
at it
Hawaiian
now,
Punch. I still do.
I'll say they have a cool character. The Hawaiian Punch guy is a cool guy, but the drink is just terrible for you.
Mhm.
And yeah, wouldn't recommend drinking Hawaiian Punch if you haven't tried it yet. Don't try it.
And then my overrated is I can drink it, but it is overrated to me. A lot of people like it, and that is chocolate milk. I'm not a chocolate milk man whatsoever, and a lot of people like chocolate milk, so that's why I'm going to say it's overrated. That is why it is my most overrated drink, chocolate milk.
Really, I used to love chocolate milk actually. But yeah, I don't know. I should have drafted it honestly. I'd probably take that over iced tea, but that's interesting. You don't like chocolate milk. It's kind
But
of
I
a hot
like,
take. I feel.
but I like milk. I don't like chocolate milk, but I like milk.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know. I know. We have some breaking news in the NBA.
Uh-oh.
Chris Paul, Washington Wizards are finalizing a deal to send Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors for a package that includes Jordan Poole and future draft picks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what do you think about that? That is an eyebrow raiser right there.
Hmm. That's a lot to unpack. So first thing I'm thinking is, well, the Wizards definitely don't need another ball handler. So at their like eighth pick, they're probably looking at taking a forward or a big, I would say. And this is interesting for the Warriors too. They already have Curry. So are they planning to maybe bring Chris Paul off the bench, or do they really want to have two point guards essentially out there and they would kind of get picked on defense, I would think. But
So I mean, they ran Jordan Poole off the bench most of the year, especially towards the end of the year. So, but like having a guy like Chris Paul, maybe they bring Chris Paul on for to run Curry more off screens, like more off ball, just like Clay. But another thing that's popping into my head is, what are they going to do about Draymond Green now? That he has a big contract. Chris Paul has a huge contract. So, like we were talking about how he might take that pay cut to go back to the Warriors, but like that's gonna have to be a pretty significant pay cut.
Well, what was Poole's contract? He just got an extension or
He did
something,
get an
right?
extension, but I don't think it was as much. I don't think it was 27 million like Draymond.
Hmm.
It might have been. I don't know. But so it looks like the Wizards are getting Jordan Poole and future draft picks. So future, that means it won't be this year. So they're obviously looking for the future. Jordan Poole is young. Um, so I think it's a good move for the Wizards. I think this is actually one of the better moves they've made. Obviously, getting rid of an old talent in Chris Paul, and then getting Jordan Poole, who's obviously way younger. He's shown some very good flashes, and they're also get some draft picks. So I'm really happy with the Wizards in this situation. So far this year, I've not been happy with the Wizards, but they it looks like they actually won one in my eyes. What do you think? Do you think they won the deal, or do you think they lost the deal?
Well, I don't think they need to keep Chris Paul, so I think it's a forward move for them. Definitely, I think Jordan Poole's a talented player. He can create his own shot, and those are guys that you want on your team. But yeah, that's I'm just kind of blown away. I did not expect that to happen while we are filming, especially. Um, yeah, you think Chris Paul, honestly, how Draymond kind of runs the point sometimes for the Warriors? You think they just kind of hand that role over to Chris Paul and designate Draymond for just setting screens and playing defense, basically?
If he comes back, though, I mean, we don't even know if he's officially coming back. And then another weird thing, though, I don't. The reason why I don't know why the Warriors did this is obviously the thing I don't understand about the Warriors right now is I know you're a win now, but what's crazy is me personally, I'm taking Jordan Poole over Chris Paul right now anyway. And Jordan Poole has more years than Chris Paul. You gave up future draft picks. What are the? I mean, they just got a new GM. They got that Mike Dunleavy Jr. I believe. I believe that's who they got. Because I know, is it Bob Myers? Isn't that his name?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob Myers. I think he stepped down. I I just don't know what the Warriors are thinking here. I don't. I mean, he Chris Paul has definitely lost a step. He is not what he was, and I think for a team that's trying to win now, I still think Jordan Poole is a better player than Chris Paul right now. I really do think that.
Maybe there's like a bigger picture thing that makes it seem a little better, but yeah, I'm kind of confused where they're going with this. I've heard Kaminga rumors, so maybe they have a big picture where they're going to make a blockbuster deal or something with their assets. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
and then maybe and there might be some contract situations, like where the Wizards have to take some of his cap and then makes him cheaper than Jordan Poole. So that might be a factor. We haven't seen all the details. However, though, so there obviously this is a set in stone deal. Looks yes, Woj said deal is agreed on. So all pending sources, so that should go through. But obviously, there's a lot of NBA rumors going on right now. There's been the Paul George going possibly to the Knicks. There's Pacers looking into Jonathan Kaminga, Tobias Harris, DeAndre Hunter, and so as a Pacer fan, I think all these rumors, like I want just to actually like I want one of them to at least happen. I do not want to draft tonight. Um, I think like you got to look at it at different like perspectives. Like, yes, Tobias Harris is older, DeAndre Hunter is younger, and then you got like Jonathan Kaminga who's younger. I personally think out of those three players, as a Pacer fan, I want Jonathan Kaminga. The reason for that is his contract's still low. He's a young player. He's kind of like Aaron Neesmith was on the Boston Celtics. He didn't get much of a role, and when he does play, he actually has a good impact. And he's very athletic, very lengthy. I think the Pacers need a 3-4 guy, and I think that is a perfect fit for the Pacers. But I'm also fine with a DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter would be a good fit as well. I think he fits our mold of Indiana basketball. Um, and then another guy is Tobias Harrison. I think he fits that mold. It's just that his contract's a little bit more hefty. But I feel
Yeah, I
like,
was gonna say I cannot deal with that contract. It's too
yeah,
big.
yeah. But like, I feel like all those guys are. I could see them all wearing Pacer uniforms. They all have that mold of them. It's just like Indiana basketball. They don't have that. They're not selfish. They all play team basketball, and then they're not up for themselves. I feel like they're just all coming from like an Indiana style basketball, and I think they all three fit.
So it sounds like you don't want us to stick and pick at 7. You want us to give that 7th pick up, huh?
I don't. I would be fine with us not drafting tonight.
Really?
I'd be fine with us not drafting at all tonight. I think the Pacers are young enough that we don't need any draft players. I think we're starting to get to that hump. Miles Turner is turning like 26, 27. That like we need to like start getting the win now mode. And Halliburton is, I mean, already look. He was an All Star last year, so he's already looks like he's coming up into his prime early, and so he might have a long prime career. And I think this is a perfect opportunity with him still on a rookie contract, kind of like in the NFL what the Rams did with Jared Goff. Like, let's build around this guy that on a rookie deal and just get a powerhouse. And I think the Pacers have a really good shot before we sign Maxi Halliburton to a high contract, a max contract. I think it's a perfect opportunity for the Pacers to go out and possibly do something.
I'm a little bit different than you. I personally would like them to take at least somebody in the draft. I would like us to keep our 7th pick, actually. What I would like to see the Pacers do is stick and pick at 7, because I think there's going to be at least out of Walker or Hendricks, someone will fall to us. And I think that fits our need really well, and we could get a pretty talented player, in my opinion, at 7 that fits our need on a rookie contract, which is really important, and that gives us the freedom to still go out and get a pretty good free agent. That's what I think would be the ideal scenario for tonight, as a Pacers fan.
Sounds good. And then, so we have, I believe, is it one Q&A?
Oh yeah, we got a question. Didn't want to forget about that. I'm glad you reminded me.
Yep.
Um, Someone sent in a question for the Q&A, and I just happened to see it, and it wouldn't have fit when we're going to do our Q&A in future episode. But they wanted to know what our top 5 picks were for tonight's NBA draft. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about.
So yeah, we got to do that.
So
Obviously,
yeah, we're going to talk about who we think is going to be the top 5 picks tonight.
top 5 picks. So are we doing this as a group? Or no, because it might be different.
Just yeah, you give your 5, I'll give my 5.
So let's go in order. So like I'll go one, you go one. So one is obviously Victor. I think that's pretty easy, and I don't even have
Yeah.
to explain that. I don't even think we
Yeah,
have
I think
to.
we've known for the past year that Victor is
Yeah.
going to.
We don't even have to explain that. The only thing we have to
Gets
watch.
interesting from here.
The only thing we have to watch out with Victor, though, one more thing, is obviously injury. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing he's gonna like maybe hurt his career is injury. I think other than that, he's gonna be just fine in the NBA. That's the only thing he has to watch out for. Number two, so it's funny. Number two, who I think is the best player, is Brandon Miller. Number two, though, is Scoot Henderson today. There's been a lot of reports coming out that the Hornets are drafting Scoot Henderson. It is like already came out that Scoot Henderson is going number two. So I think Scoot Henderson goes number two, but I personally believe Brandon Miller is the better player. What about you?
I think Scoot Henderson goes at 2, and I actually think Scoot Henderson's a better player than Brandon Miller as a prospect right now. A 6'9" player with Brandon Miller's skill set, I'll say, is harder to find, and he could end up being the better player, but I think Scoot Henderson's better now, and I think that's where they go at 2.
Okay. And then number three is so one was Spurs, two is Hornets, three is Portland. I'm gonna go three. I'm gonna go Brandon Miller goes to the third pick. There's possibility that the Trailblazers trade, so I'm gonna say the third pick is Brandon Miller. That is my number 3 pick.
I have kind of an interesting pick. I think with Jeremy Grant and Shaden Sharp already kind of at those like 3 and 4 spots for the Trailblazers, I actually think they go in a slightly different direction with Scoot Henderson off the board, unfortunately, and I think they take Amen Thompson. I think that would be an interesting pick, but I could see it happening, and that's who I'm going to take at my 3 pick.
Yeah, and so kind of like what you're saying, I was planning on. I don't plan on Portland staying there tonight. I think it. Damian Lillard basically came out and said if you draft 3, he didn't say this, but he was thinking it pretty much. and everybody can assume. Basically, if they stick with their pick tonight, Damian Lillard is probably not going to be a Trailblazer. That is what I've pretty much
which
heard
I personally think is the better thing for the Trailblazers
with
and
Anthony
Dame.
Simons, and yeah, I mean they got a so. But like I was planning on them not taking this pick. That's why I'm saying Brandon Miller. But we're just saying the third pick. Fourth pick is the Houston Rockets. I'm going to say Ahmed Thompson. I think that's who the fourth pick is going to be. And then who do you think four is going to be?
I have Brandon Miller at 4, which I'm sure the Rockets would be pretty happy about. I don't know if Brandon Miller would be happy about that because that organization is kind of a mess. But yeah, I don't think it's really been kind of expected that he kind of goes in that 2-3 the whole time. And just until now, really the past week, I've seen him fall into 4 in some mock drafts, and I could see it happening. I have him at 4.
Gotcha. And then number five, I'm going to go with a little bit different than most mock drafts. I'm going to go with Jarris Walker. I think Jarris Walker is going to go number five to the Detroit Pistons. I think Jarris Walker is an NBA skilled guy. Obviously, he has the body for the NBA, and I think Pistons take Jarris Walker.
I have at 5 Cam Whitmore, which is a guy I really like. I think he has a ton of potential. He fits in really well, I think, besides their two great guards in Ivy and Cunningham, as a really good three player. I like his athleticism and his upside on the offensive side. I think he goes at 5.
Sounds good. And then when there's and we have some NBA questions right to end it off.
Yeah, I kind of made up some questions for tonight. I just kind of want to pick your brain, see where you're thinking. Um, Say Victor is the number one player in this class,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to pick a player that you think, when it's all said and done, is going to be the second best player. Who do you think that would be?
So I kind of said this in the Q&A. I think the second best player in this draft, and I said it along our very first or second episode. I said it a long time ago. I really do think Brandon Miller can be the best player out of this draft, and I'm still sticking with that. It is very rare, like you said, it is very rare to find a guy like that, 6'9", 6'10", athletic, can handle the ball, can shoot. I think and play both sides of the ball. And I'm still going to stick with that. I think Brandon Miller will be the number two, number one guy in this draft class. I really do think that. What do you think?
I think Amon Thompson has a decent chance to be the second best player just because he has a really fluid athleticism about him and great size at point guard, great playmaking. And I think he's a guy, especially if he gets his jump shot figured out, his the sky's the limit for him. I could easily see him being the second best player out of this class, if not the first. If, say, Victor struggles with injuries in his career or just doesn't pan out for whatever reason. I really like the talent on Amon Thompson.
Yeah, and then another thing he has an advantage on is he played for the G League. So, I mean, he's already playing against G League level guys. You know, those guys are higher than college level players. So he does have that advantage on some college players, for sure. And then is there any more? How many questions do you have?
Just a couple more.
Okay.
I want to know, who do you think could be a bust out of this draft class?
Bust. So when I think of bust, I think of when I think of bust, I think of like first round talent. It doesn't pan out. That's what I think of bust. I'm not saying anybody that's drafted and that player's gonna be. I'm not gonna say that 55th pick is gonna be a bust. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say probably a top 10 guy who I think is gonna be a bust. And I'm gonna go with Taylor Hendricks. I think Taylor Hendricks will be a bust. Out of all of my top 10 players right now in front of me, the reason for that is he has a lot of same like he reminds me a lot of like Obi Toppin when he was at Dayton, and like he's very athletic. He can jump. He's shown flashes where he can shoot, and I feel like he just reminds me a lot of Obi Toppin. And Obi Toppin obviously still hasn't really got a chance to prove himself, but I I just see out of this top 10, I see Taylor Hendricks going being a top 10 draft pick and not panning out like what the team thought he would.
I could see that because he's a player that is being drafted so high based off of his traits.
Exactly.
And those traits have to work out at the next level, and that doesn't always happen. So those players have a decent chance to bust anytime that happens. Interestingly, I think a player that could be a bust is also the player that I really just said I liked in Amon Thompson. Like I said, he has to get his jump shot figured out, but also playing in the G League, he was a little bit older than a lot of the guys he was facing. A lot of the guys he was facing were 18 years old, and I believe he's 20 years old. So he was a little bit older than his competition. There's some concerns about whether he has a little more room to grow, and he just might not pan out. So I think he's my definite boom or bust guy since I talked about him twice. So yeah, I'm curious to see how Amon Thompson pans out.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he definitely has that. Like, yeah, he's one of those players that's like I feel like you can definitely take him high and he pans out. It's like, oh yeah, well yeah. But then if he also doesn't work out, it's like, oh yeah, that's true too. So I think it's either way. I think it swings either way for him.
Who do you think would be a sleeper that you haven't talked about yet? I know you talked about what's his name from Indiana.
Oh, Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Yeah,
So sleeper, I'm going sleeper. I'm going to say first round, later first round talent. Maybe like near the lottery. I'm actually going to go with a twin brother here, and this is Chris Murray from Iowa. His brother is obviously really good for the Kings. He arguably could have won Rookie of the Year because he didn't get the same volume as all these other guys because he came into a very good Kings team. Um, but yes, Chris Murray, he reminds me a lot of his brother, like literally, literally, and he played out of his mind this year at Iowa, and he played just like his brother did his brother's I think sophomore year because he was a junior. So I really don't understand how this doesn't work out for him. So and he is looking like he is going to be a top 15, top 20 pick. So I feel like that can be your sleeper in that area. So I think Chris Murray is my biggest sleeper in that range. What
I
do you
like
think?
that pick. I'm gonna go back to another guy from mine, and Nick Smith. Another one, Dariq Whitehead, I think is underrated too, but Nick Smith specifically. When I watch him on tape and just remembering who he was as a prospect, he was a guy that was supposed to go top five in the NBA draft just like a year ago. He has great shot creating ability, pretty good length. He's fast, hard to guard. I could really see him paying off wherever he falls in the draft.
Yeah, and I totally agree because he has that NBA mindset too as well.
hmm I could see him being like a Tyrese Maxey or something like that.
Hmm.
What about a little bit later in the draft? Who's a guy that you think could go undrafted or second round, maybe even late first round, that could be a really good player in the NBA?
So I'm gonna say I have three actually, and I'm gonna say all three. One, I'm going with my Kentucky boy. I'm going to go Jacob Toppin. I think he has that body, and he is not looking to be drafted right now. And I think that's kind of crazy. I know he's a little bit older compared to most draft uh, candidates, but Jacob Toppin, obviously, he showed out for Kentucky this past year. He's an elite defender. He can guard 1 through 5. Um, he needs to work on his shot, but he's not a bad ball handler for his size. And so that's my number one of them. That's one of my three. Number two, I'm going to go Jalen Wilson from Kansas. He is supposed to be a second round pick and later second round pick, actually. And I think Jalen Wilson, he has shown that he can play basketball really well. Like he is a dominant scorer. And I feel like in the NBA, some of these top players, you don't need as much defense. Like look at Luka Doncic. Like obviously this is Jalen Wilson compared to Luka Doncic, but Jalen Wilson has showed the ability that he can score the ball. So I think he has a chance to really pop off for a late round pick. And then my last one is Kobe Brown from Missouri.
That dude's a beast.
Kobe Brown torched Kentucky. Actually, let me go ahead and say that. But Kobe Brown, he reminds me of a lot of a good style center these days. Like he is 6'8", 6'7", a little undersized, but he's a big body. Kind of reminds me a lot of Antoine Walker, how he plays. He can handle a little bit. He can shoot really well. He can attack. Really good defender. I think this man can actually be a really big sleeper in this draft, and I think that is actually going to be my number one sleeper is Kobe Brown in the second round.
I really like Kobe Brown as well. Those were all guys actually. Toppin, Kobe Brown were two of my sleepers I was gonna say, so I kind of have to pivot to someone else now. Um, I'll just throw another Kentucky guy out there, and Chris Livingston. I don't know where he's
Mm-hmm.
looking to go in the draft, but I loved Chris Livingston at Kentucky last year as a freshman. He showed up in big moments for us at times. He has an NBA ready body. I mean that he's big. I mean he's built for the game. He's like 6'7". He can play the 2, the 3. He can shoot a little bit. He can attack the basket. He's a great rebounder for a guard forward. Great defender. Yeah, I think he's a guy that could pan out in the second round.
Yeah, and he's young. So I mean, he
Yeah,
didn't get really show much at Kentucky because that Kentucky team, he kind of lost his spot. Then he got his spot back. He's shown he's a really good rebounder, which is big for the NBA. So I think he actually has a legitimate shot to be decent in the NBA with his body and his skill set.
yeah. And I think that's all the questions that we have. That brings us to final words. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah. So my final words is hopefully the NBA draft does not take 6 hours, and hopefully it goes smooth. And like I said earlier in the this episode, hopefully the Pacers don't draft at all. So hopefully I don't see gold is on the clock. I do not want to see that.
Hmm, interesting. Um, I'm gonna say a prayer that Victor Wembanyama falls to number 7.
That's a good one.
I think it's realistic, right?
I will be fine if the Pacers draft Victor. I will say that. If the Pacers draft any of the top 3 players, give it to me. I'll go that far. I'll go that far.
Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching this episode. It's been a good one. Till next time.
Peace.